आप हमें ये आर्गुमेंट बताइए कि ये जो एक्सेस टू जस्टिस का फंडामेंटल राइट है, नंबर वन, ये किस तरह अफेक्ट होता है। नंबर टू, अगर ये फंडामेंटल राइट अफेक्ट होता है तो दैट बाय इटसेल्फ बाय डेफिनेशन is a question of public importance. Number two. Number three, the argument whether it is competent, maintainable, not maintainable, I think we have gone beyond that. The very fact that one side is saying it does not affect independence of the judiciary, the other side is saying it does affect the independence of the judiciary, and this court is called upon to examine whether it does or it does not. So the very fact that we are examining that question itself shows that it is a question that needs to be examined and is therefore a maintainable issue or a petition.
In fact, related to that also the question, we are not debating whether the law is good or bad.
Mr. Hassan,
If I may request my distinguished colleague that let Mr. Hassan at least address what one of us have asked, because otherwise we won't.
my question actually is totally related to what has been asked. In the context of access to justice, I had previously asked that when a full court sits, the right of appeal is not available to the petitioner. If the objective of the law was to give access to justice, and the response of the Federation is that, well, when the committee decides that a full court should sit, then there's no right of appeal. Does that bar the right of access to justice? Is this a substantive right that is being prevented? Or can we just say that the power that was vested in the Chief Justice, to that extent it was incorrect? Now that the committee will decide that a bench of 10, 11 or 12 will sit, and so the right of appeal is blocked. Does that affect the right of access to justice?
That, your leadership, is a very pertinent question. That, in my humble opinion, it does. But I have an answer to that, howsoever irrational that argument may appear. But maybe the framers of the Constitution did not have in mind that is a solution. But there is a solution in the Constitution which could perhaps, in a very let's say, extraordinary situation may be resorted to by the Honorable Chief Justice if a full court hears. And that's contained in Article 186. Let me just find it out. Where there is a power, if there are reasons, substantial reasons, the Honorable Chief Justice can actually increase the strength of the Honorable Supreme Court.
That's a different situation.
Yes,
in fact, what by not giving the right of appeal, it basically means either the Supreme Court can never sit as a full bench and can never sit as a 10 or 11, 12 member bench. That is one way of looking at it, because that ability of the court to constitute its bench, a larger bench where required, is now blocked if the right of appeal has to be given meaning.
The right of appeal under Article 185 of the Constitution is itself given what could be a right of appeal, and in fact that is one of my arguments when I'll come to that provision, that Article 1853 does not actually empowers the Honorable Supreme Court in all other matters which are not mentioned there to have a direct right of appeal. It is only by way of special leave to appeal. So there is a distinction that perhaps the drafters of this legislation may not have appreciated. But let me come to your Lordship's question. In fact, there is another question which leads to what your Lordship is saying, is that what we are saying is, howsoever good the law may be, it has to follow a certain provision. Whatsoever, we don't doubt the intentions of the Parliament. Parliament is of course supreme. Supreme Court is, I believe, the supreme thing over the Supreme Court and the Parliament is the Constitution. The Honorable Supreme Court is bound by the Constitution, the Parliament is bound by the Constitution. And one of the points that I have mentioned later on is that the oath of offices, all the oaths, whether it's of the Chief Justice, President, Prime Minister, Parliamentarian, they have three common words: preserve, protect and defend.
जरा पढ़ लें
The Constitution. Oaths में